Do you want to successfully complete the WGU D215 Objective Assessment for Auditing course? Then you're in the right place. Our website provides a list of questions and answers with an emphasis on preparing for your success in the Auditing D215 course. In this video, we will cover questions from Audit Reporting and Opinions, 𝗚𝗂𝗍𝗶𝗍 Ethics and Professional Conduct, Audit Risk Assessment and Procedures, Internal Controls and COSO Framework, Audit Evidence and Assertions. So, let's get started. 1. Which type of report should be issued if an auditor has determined that a company has maintained effective internal controls over financial reporting for the period under audit? A. Adverse. B. Qualified. C. Disclaimer. D. Unqualified. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. D. Unqualified. Explanation. An unqualified report is issued when the auditor concludes that a company's internal controls are effective and the financial statements are fairly presented. 2. Which type of work performed by a CPA is considered an attestation service? A. Risk advisory. B. Website security assurance. C. Data integrity. D. Financial statement review. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. D. Financial statement review. Explanation. Financial statement review is an attestation service because the CPA provides an independent report on financial information that is the responsibility of another party. 3. Which entity may obtain audited financial statements to ensure a company is complying with industry regulations? A. Lenders. B. Consumers. C. Governments. D. General public. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Governments. Explanation. Governments often require audited financial statements to ensure that companies comply with regulations within their industries. 4. Which group performs an audit and review of financial statements to ensure financial statement users' needs are met? A. Internal auditors. B. The Internal Revenue Service, IRS. C. Independent third-party auditors. D. The Financial Accounting Standards Board, FASB. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Independent third-party auditors. Explanation. Independent third-party auditors are responsible for ensuring that financial statements are fairly presented and free of material misstatement to meet the needs of users. 5. A new CPA is aware of how accounting affects stakeholders. Which characteristic of professionalism is motivating this awareness? A. Level of expertise. B. Advanced certification. C. Professional judgment. D. Concern for the public interest. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. D. Concern for the public interest. Explanation. Concern for the public interest is a core element of professionalism, motivating CPAs to act in the best interest of stakeholders. 6. Which component of the AICPA Code of Professional Conduct provides the tenets of ethical conduct that govern the professional responsibility of its members? A. Morals. B. Principles. C. Interpretations. D. Rules of conduct. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Principles. Explanation. The AICPA Code of Professional Conduct contains principles that provide the ethical framework governing the responsibilities of CPAs. 7. A CPA firm provides tax services for a large automotive client. Over the years, the client has continually pushed for aggressive tax strategies that the CPA does not always agree with. While performing the current year's tax return, the client threatens to discontinue the relationship if the firm continues to disagree. Which type of threat to ethical decision-making is demonstrated by this practice? A. Self-review. B. Self-interest. C. Adverse interest. D. Undue influence. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. D. Undue influence. Explanation. Undue influence occurs when a client uses power or influence to pressure the CPA into compromising their ethical responsibilities. 8. A CPA has prepared a couple's joint tax returns for 10 years, but the couple is now experiencing a complicated divorce, with both parties wishing to claim the same child as a dependent. The CPA agrees to work with both clients on their tax returns. Which standard of the 𝗚𝗂𝗰𝗶𝗀𝗀 Code of Professional Conduct is being violated by this CPA's action? A. Independence. B. Contingent fees. C. Accounting principles. D. Integrity and objectivity. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. D. Integrity and objectivity. Explanation. The CPA is violating the 𝗚𝗂𝗰𝗶𝗀's integrity and objectivity rule by taking on conflicting interests and compromising their objectivity. 9. A large client asks a CPA firm for consulting help with their quarterly sales and use tax reporting. The CPA firm specializes in audit and tax preparation and has not dealt with this type of work before, but would like to add it. What step is required to maintain compliance with the general standards of the 𝗚𝗂𝗰𝗶𝗀 Code of Professional Conduct? A. The CPA firm must send the CPAs to a continuing professional education course on sales and use tax reporting. B. The CPA firm must be independent of the client to perform consulting services on sales and use tax reports. C. The CPA firm must develop this line of work by adding additional clients who need assistance with sales and use tax reports. D. The CPA firm must collect sufficient relevant data to complete sales and use tax reports. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. A. The CPA firm must send the CPAs to a continuing professional education course on sales and use tax reporting. Explanation. To maintain professional competence, CPAs must pursue the necessary education to perform services outside of their current expertise. 10. A junior accountant is providing tax and all audit services to a large company that is pressuring the accountant to reduce the amount of taxes owed. The junior accountant decides to use last year's tax laws instead of the current year's laws to save the company money. Which general standard of the 𝗚𝗂𝗰𝗶𝗀 Code of Professional Conduct is the junior accountant violating? A. Due professional care. B. Sufficient relevant data. C. Planning and supervision. D. Professional competence. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. A. Due professional care. Explanation. The accountant is violating the standard of due professional care by not applying the most current and accurate laws. 11. A CPA firm has been retained to audit a client's financial statements. The client's bank has requested audited financial statements in order to approve or deny a loan. The client has suggested that the CPA firm will earn a $20,000 bonus if the bank grants the loan to the client. Which statement characterizes the permissibility of this fee structure? A. The CPA will need to obtain a ruling letter from the 𝗚𝗂𝗰𝗶𝗀 before agreeing to this fee structure. D. This fee structure is not permitted under ethical standards applicable to the auditing profession. C. The CPA will need to obtain written permission from the client's bank before agreeing to this fee structure. D. This fee structure is an acceptable arrangement under ethical standards applicable to the auditing profession. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. This fee structure is not permitted under ethical standards applicable to the auditing profession. Explanation. CPAs cannot accept contingent fees based on the outcome of their audit work, as this compromises their independence. 12. A CPA is auditing a car dealership and is identifying factors that affect the likelihood of overstated revenue. During which phase of the audit does the CPA take this action? A. Reporting. B. Regulatory. C. Risk response. D. Risk assessment. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. D. Risk assessment. Explanation. The CPA assesses risks, including the risk of overstated revenue, during the risk assessment phase of the audit. 13. After performing risk assessment procedures and tests of controls, an auditor has determined that the risk of material misstatement, RMM, is high. How should the auditor proceed? A. Withdraw from the audit engagement. B. Select a substantive approach for the audit strategy. C. Issue a qualified opinion in the auditor's report. D. Select a reliance on a controls approach for the audit strategy. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Select a substantive approach for the audit strategy. Explanation. If RMM is high, the auditor must focus on substantive procedures to gather more detailed evidence. 14. An audit firm is finalizing the acceptance of an audit by sending the client an engagement letter. Which piece of information should be included in this letter? A. Client's reason for switching audit firms. B. Client's confirmation of management integrity. C. Client's statement that no conflict of interest exists. D. Client's responsibility for the preparation of the financial statements. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. D. Client's responsibility for the preparation of the financial statements. Explanation. The engagement letter outlines that the client is responsible for the preparation and presentation of the financial statements. 15. An audit manager is concerned about a severe economic downturn in the country where its audit client is based. Which component of the audit risk model is of concern to this manager? A. Control. B. Inherent. C. Detection. D. Quantitative. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Inherent. Explanation. Inherent risk is influenced by external factors such as economic downturns, which are beyond the client's control. 16. A company has been operating with weak internal accounting policies within an industry known for poor accounting practices. The auditor must keep audit risk below 1%. Which situation must be present to ensure this level of audit risk? A. There must be a low level of inherent risk. B. There must be a high level of inherent risk. C. There must be a low level of detection risk. D. There must be a high level of detection risk. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. There must be a low level of detection risk. Explanation. To maintain low audit risk, detection risk must be minimized, especially if inherent and control risks are high. 17. A staff auditor working on a large company's audit has found a red flag that may indicate fraud. Which item was found by the auditor? A. Simple business structure. B. Strong internal controls. C. Inadequate training programs. D. Basic business transactions. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. C. Inadequate training programs. Explanation. Inadequate training programs can create opportunities for fraud due to a lack of understanding of proper procedures. 18. An auditor has a new audit engagement of an urgent care clinic with a high turnover of direct care workers in a geographic area that has experienced tremendous population growth. Which procedure should the auditor perform to gain an understanding of the client? A. Test the client's procedures for recording payroll liabilities. B. Review AICPA industry guides for the healthcare industry. C. Test a sample of wage calculations from a payroll register. D. Review the client's formal procedures for classifying payroll expenses. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Review AICPA industry guides for the healthcare industry. Explanation. The auditor should consult AICPA industry guides to understand the unique risks associated with the healthcare industry. 19. How does the inclusion of a non-executive individual in the composition of the board of directors affect an auditor's risk assessment? A. It increases the risk of a material misstatement due to a lack of expertise. B. It reduces the risk of a material misstatement because they are more impartial. C. It increases the risk of a material misstatement due to a lack of a vested interest in the company. D. It reduces the risk of a material misstatement because they are outside of corporate governance. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. It reduces the risk of a material misstatement because they are more impartial. Explanation. Non-executive directors are more impartial and can provide a more objective view of the company's governance, reducing the risk of material misstatement. 20. A company begins to use a new accounts payable computer system and then realizes a critical data field present in the old system is missing in the new system. Which type of risk is present for this company? A. Control. B. Inherent. C. Financial. D. Detection. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. A. Control. Explanation. This is a control risk because the new system's missing data field compromises the company's ability to properly manage its accounts payable. 21. During a yearly audit, the audit team becomes aware of the company's pressure to increase next year's profit. Which factor should the audit team be on the lookout for in the near future? A. Accruals for subsequent year sales in the current year. B. Disposals of inventory during the week before the current year. When? C. Payroll expenses incurred the month after the year end and recorded in the last month of the year. D. Sales commissions paid to staff incurred during the last week of the year and not recorded in the current year. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Payroll expenses incurred the month after the year end and recorded in the last month of the year. Explanation. The company may record expenses in the wrong period to manipulate reported profits. 22. Which management assertion states that financial and other information are disclosed fairly and in appropriate amounts? A. Completeness. B. Accuracy and valuation. C. Classification and understandability. D. Occurrence and rights and obligations. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Accuracy and valuation. Explanation. The accuracy and valuation assertion ensures that the financial amounts are correctly measured and disclosed. 23. Which factor describes the sufficiency of audit evidence gathered? A. Quantity of evidence. B. Documentation of evidence. C. How the evidence was obtained. D. when the evidence was obtained. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. A. Quantity of evidence. Explanation. Sufficiency refers to the quantity of audit evidence required to form a reasonable basis for conclusions. 24. Which combination of assessed inherent risk and control risk will require the greatest amount of sufficient evidence? A. Low inherent risk, low control risk. B. High inherent risk, low control risk. C. Low inherent risk, high control risk. D. High inherent risk, high control risk. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. D. High inherent risk, high control risk. Explanation. When both inherent and control risks are high, more evidence is required to mitigate the audit risk. 25. Which type of procedure is being performed when an auditor selects transactions from a sales journal or ledger and then examines the underlying source documents? A. Tracing. B. Vouching. C. Observing. D. Journaling. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Vouching. Explanation. Vouching involves selecting entries from the financial records and tracing them back to the original source documents to verify their occurrence. 26. Which dimension of the COSO framework identifies 5 integrated items of internal control? A. Objectives. B. Components. C. Information technology. D. Organizational structure. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Components. Explanation. The COSO framework identifies 5 components of internal control: control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information and communication, and monitoring. 27. Which principle should an organization implement in order to have an effective risk assessment process? A. The organization should demonstrate a commitment to integrity and ethical values. B. The organization should select and develop general control activities over technology. C. The organization should select and develop control activities that contribute to the mitigation of risk. D. The organization should specify objectives with clarity to enable the identification and assessment of risks. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. D. The organization should specify objectives with clarity to enable the identification and assessment of risks. Explanation. Clear objectives are necessary for effective risk identification and assessment. 28. Which action is considered a control activity that helps ensure management's directives are carried out across the entity? A. Conducting periodic evaluations of internal controls. B. Ensuring there are proper authorization control procedures. C. Committing to attract, develop, and retain competent employees. D. Implementing internal control recommendations when deficiencies are detected. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Ensuring there are proper authorization control procedures. Explanation. Authorization control procedures are part of control activities to ensure that management directives are followed. 29. Which type of audit test would help auditors determine whether the client has met the financial reporting objectives? A. Substantive tests. B. Tests of controls. C. Tests of details. D. Risk assessment procedures. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. A. Substantive tests. Explanation. Substantive tests help auditors verify the correctness of financial records and ensure that financial reporting objectives have been met. 30. When should auditors perform substantive procedures on a transaction? A. When they do not intend to rely on internal controls. B. When they intend to place reliance on controls. C. When inherent risk is low. D. When they intend to increase detection risk. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. A. When they do not intend to rely on internal controls. Explanation. Substantive procedures are performed when auditors believe internal controls cannot be fully relied upon. Struggling with your WGU exams? We've all been there. Welcome to OAExams.com, your ultimate resource for WGU success. Find over 15,000 plus questions and answers. Join our thriving community of over 10,000 active WGU students and an impressive 100% success rate with our premium exam support. Visit OAExams.com today and take the first step toward guaranteed success. 31. Which activity occurs in the reporting phase of an audit? A. Gaining an understanding of the client. B. Identifying material misstatements. C. Forming an opinion on the fair presentation of the financial statements. D. Developing the audit strategy. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Forming an opinion on the fair presentation of the financial statements. Explanation. During the reporting phase, the auditor forms an opinion on whether the financial statements are presented fairly. 32. Which audit procedure would provide evidence of the existence assertion for a client's inventory balance? A. Observation of physical inventory count. B. Inquiry of management. C. Review of purchase orders. D. Review of inventory valuation reports. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. A. Observation of physical inventory count. Explanation. Physically observing the inventory count provides evidence that the inventory exists. 33. What must the audit team do during the risk response phase of the audit? A. Understand the client's business and environment. B. Gain an understanding of the client's internal controls. C. Perform detailed substantive testing of transactions and accounts. D. Issue the audit report and opinion. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Perform detailed substantive testing of transactions and accounts. Explanation. During the risk response phase, the audit team performs tests to gather evidence about the accounts and transactions. 34. An auditor is testing a client's payroll system and is concerned about the completeness of the recorded payroll expenses. Which action should the auditor perform? A. Trace recorded payroll entries to underlying timesheets. B. Recalculate payroll expenses. C. Compare payroll reports to general ledger entries. D. Test payroll system controls. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. A. Trace recorded payroll entries to underlying timesheets. Explanation. Tracing ensures that payroll entries are complete and correspond to actual time worked. 35. A client's financial statements include an estimate for warranty expenses based on historical data. Which type of risk is associated with this estimate? A. Detection risk. B. Control risk. C. Inherent risk. D. Audit risk. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Inherent risk. Explanation. Estimates such as warranty expenses have inherent risks due to the uncertainty involved in making those estimates. 36. Which of the following should an auditor use as the basis for determining a materiality threshold? A. Net income. B. Working capital. C. Total assets. D. External audit reports. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. A. Net income. Explanation. Net income is often used as a benchmark for determining materiality since it represents the financial performance of the client. 37. When auditors identify fraud risks that involve senior management, which course of action should they take? A. Discuss the risks with the client's legal counsel. B. Withdraw from the engagement. C. Report the risks to the client's board of directors. D. Discuss the risks with external stakeholders. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Report the risks to the client's board of directors. Explanation. Fraud involving senior management must be reported to those charged with governance, such as the board of directors. 38. Which characteristic of audit evidence would an auditor consider when determining whether it is appropriate? A. Quantity. B. Reliability. C. Accessibility. D. Audit risk. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Reliability. Explanation. The appropriateness of audit evidence is determined by its quality, specifically its relevance and reliability. 39. What is the primary purpose of using analytical procedures during the planning phase of an audit? A. To form an opinion on the financial statements. B. To identify potential risks of material misstatement. C. To confirm account balances. D. To determine whether internal controls are effective. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. To identify potential risks of material misstatement. Explanation. Analytical procedures in the planning phase help auditors identify unusual transactions or balances that could indicate risks of material misstatement. 40. Which of the following is an example of a preventive control? A. Reconciliation of bank statements. B. Physical counts of inventory. C. Segregation of duties. D. Review of financial statements by management. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Segregation of duties. Explanation. Segregation of duties is a preventive control that helps prevent errors or fraud by dividing responsibilities among employees. 41. An auditor tests the design and operating effectiveness of a client's internal controls. What phase of the audit is this? A. Risk response. B. Planning. C. Reporting. D. Risk assessment. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. A. Risk response. Explanation. Testing internal controls occurs during the risk response phase when the auditor assesses whether to rely on the controls or perform more substantive testing. 42. An auditor identifies a material misstatement in the financial statements. What is the auditor's next step? A. Issue an adverse opinion. B. Perform more tests. C. Communicate with the client. Can you guess the answer? client to correct the misstatement. D. Withdraw from the engagement. Correct answer. C. Communicate with the client to correct the misstatement. Explanation. The auditor first communicates with the client to address and correct the identified misstatement. 43. A company acquires another business during the year, and this is disclosed in the financial statements. Which type of audit test would ensure that this acquisition is appropriately recorded and disclosed? A. Test of controls. B. Substantive test of details. C. Risk assessment procedure. D. Analytical procedure. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Substantive test of details. Explanation. Substantive tests of details verify that transactions, such as acquisitions, are recorded and disclosed correctly. 44. Which type of control is designed to detect fraud or errors after they have occurred? A. Preventive controls. B. Detective controls. C. Do you know the answer? Corrective controls. D. Internal controls. Correct answer. B. Detective controls. Explanation. Detective controls are designed to identify errors or fraud after they have occurred. 45. Which assertion is addressed when an auditor performs a physical inventory count? A. Completeness. B. Accuracy. C. Existence. D. Valuation. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. C. Existence. Explanation. A physical inventory count addresses the existence assertion by verifying that the inventory recorded in the books actually exists. 46. An auditor uses data analytics to identify trends and anomalies in a client's sales transactions. Which audit phase is this an example of? A. Reporting. B. Risk response. C. Risk assessment. D. Planning. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Risk response. Explanation. Data analytics are used in the risk response phase to test controls and transactions, helping identify areas of focus. 47. A CPA firm is conducting an integrated audit of a public company. Which standard must they follow? A. AICPA Auditing Standards. B. GAS. C. PCAOB Auditing Standards. D. COSO Framework. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. PCAOB Auditing Standards. Explanation. Integrated audits of public companies must comply with PCAOB auditing standards. 48. An auditor performing tests of controls notes that several control procedures are not operating as intended. How should the auditor proceed? A. Conclude that internal control is effective. B. Issue an adverse opinion. C. Perform more substantive tests. D. Adjust materiality thresholds. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Perform more substantive tests. Explanation. If controls are not operating effectively, the auditor must perform additional substantive tests to gather sufficient evidence. 49. How does an auditor typically assess the appropriateness of the fair value estimates in the financial statements? A. By tracing the estimates back to source documents. B. By testing the calculations underlying the estimates. C. By comparing the estimates to industry benchmarks. D. By reviewing management's assumptions and inputs used in the estimates. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. D. By reviewing management's assumptions and inputs used in the estimates. Explanation. The auditor assesses the appropriateness of fair value estimates by reviewing management's assumptions and inputs. 50. A CPA firm has obtained written representations from the client's management regarding the financial statements. What is the primary purpose of this document? A. To serve as audit evidence. B. To reduce audit risk. C. To increase the reliability of the audit report. D. To confirm management's responsibility for the financial statements. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. D. To confirm management's responsibility for the financial statements. Explanation. Written representations from management confirm their responsibility for preparing the financial statements. You've reached the end of our first question set. For the complete exam preparation experience, visit us at OAExams.com, where you'll find thousands more practice questions and comprehensive study guides. Thanks for studying with us today. See you in the next video.